Everyone, and thank you all so much for joining. I can see people are still joining, so I'm just going to start with the introduction. Yes, so it's another edition of ElectHER webinar series. It's actually the 10th edition, and we're so excited to have a very special guest today. But I'm going to keep you on a little bit of suspense before I introduce her formally, even though you already have an opinion, an idea of who we're bringing on board today. But just to start, welcome and thank you again for joining us on this journey. As you know, if you're just joining, ElectHER is a political advocacy organization that is focused on encouraging women to run for office, enabling them to competitively run and develop their skills, and also enabling them to win as well. And on ElectHER webinar series, we drive thought leadership and address key issues surrounding women's leadership, political leadership, and different cross-cutting issues that are affecting women in the society. So thank you all so much for joining us on this journey. Today is actually the first of a very special series for us on ElectHER webinar series, and it's the First Ladies series. We believe that First Ladies are custodians of power as well. And most times we feel like they are not given the accolades they deserve. When we're looking in society today and we want to point to women in power, powerful women who are doing a lot, people who have that strategic importance in driving conversations and influencing policies through their office or through their career as well. We cannot but mention First Lady. So we're very honored to have our special guest, who I'm not going to introduce yet today, to actually kickstart the conversation that would lead to greater things today. And we're sure that this is not the first of many conversations that we're going to be having with her. So before I introduce her now, I'm going to just speak on a few housekeeping rules and also some information that you might find valuable as well. So the chat feature here is meant to encourage us to engage with one another. As you know, ElectHER webinar series, we don't like to do just talking. We want you to engage as well. We want to share your thoughts and your opinion about the conversation. You can also use the question and answer feature to ask specific questions, and then I can channel to the guest speaker, but she's also privy to the chat feature and the Q&A feature as well, so she can also respond. If time permits, we'll take one or two questions. As you know, this is a civil platform. While we encourage conversations, we love to keep it very civil. We have one mission here, which is to promote the woman's agenda, to ensure that she has this visibility, we can amplify her voice, and we're working towards the common goal of getting more women into key positions of political leadership and representation. So I'm going to start by introducing our guest today. She is a career diplomat. She's also into social impact. She's a philanthropist, and also she is the First Lady of Kwara State. Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us today. Her name is Dr. Mrs. Olufolake Abdulrazaq. Thank you so much for the honor, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and I'm happy to join this First Lady series. I look forward to a great time, and it's important to have this discussion, just so people know what, a lot of people don't know what First Ladies do. Yes. And the impact that we have. And I think it's important to shed a light. So well done on doing this, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, okay. We don't want to keep you waiting, so I'm just going to dive straight into conversation today, because we have just 1 hour of your time, and we want to ensure that we maximize that 1 hour as well. Your Excellency, so stylish, glamorous, expensive are some of the common perceptions or some of the few words that are used to describe First Ladies. Most of them are perceived to walk in the shadows of their husband or of their spouses without really taking ownership of their office or really just executing the full weight. They've also been largely perceived to play traditional roles in the political arena through the creation of social welfare programs aimed at tackling socio-economic challenges of citizens in their respective communities. But in the same vein, the other First Ladies who have defied all odds and have emerged as fonts of reckon and visible political figures. Now, there are certain stereotypes associated with the office of the First Lady being largely ceremonial. In your own experience, how would you define your role and the office to really dispel this opinion?
Well, thank you very much for that. I think maybe we had a little bit of crossed wires here, because I have some remarks which has been prepared and which I was going to read out before answering questions. But I will do a little bit of justice to what you've just asked. I mean, we have 36 states in the country, and therefore you would assume that we would have that number of first ladies as well. And in very many of the states, you have certain visibility of the First Lady. And it is true that your role is to complement that of the governor and what the governor is trying to achieve. So a lot of the time, you know, First Ladies pick and choose the causes that they would, you know, want to identify with and to work with. And it's important to note that we also are a voice of advocacy to make sure that, you know, certain things are done in society. We make sure that laws are passed. We make sure that we remain an advocacy group to make sure that things are seen and heard. You know, they call us the mothers of the states. So that way people come to you with all their problems and issues that they may not ordinarily have the access to go to the governor to discuss. And therefore, it is up to you to try to bring up those social problems in that forum or to the governor to make sure that their voices are heard. So in a large way, we kind of represent the vulnerable groups, you know, those that may not be so powerful enough to be able to walk their own path. So they come to us and we try to assist them. Now, First Ladies differ in orientation and what they choose to work on. Therefore, you may see that in a certain state, while a First Lady is working on maybe children and women, in another state, First Ladies may be working on the indigent, the less privileged, the disabled, and so many other such social things. Now, these days, with the advent of a lot of professional women coming into the fore, and I believe this particular, you know, dispensation, you can see and tell that there are a lot of professional women that are First Ladies. Therefore, you know, the scope has widened a bit in that we also tackle much more challenging issues. You know, we go into the social sphere and assist the governors in things like education, in entrepreneurship, in, you know, mining, women in mining. So we've gone into so many different sectors. So it's not glamour, glitz and glamour, you know, as you said in the beginning. You've seen a lot of people roll up their sleeves and really, really come to the fore to advocate on gender rights, on women's issues, on, you know, even issues of students and the youth. Now, in my case, apart from just doing the, you know, the First Lady representational and you said sort of ceremonial duties, a lot of it is not ceremonial because you have to actually head these things, push them to the fore, make people understand where, you know, you're going, be an advocate for vulnerable groups, like I said. So that cannot be ceremonial. You know, it is a real push in the right direction for a lot of governments in the state. So apart from doing all that, I also founded, because you will find that some First Ladies just are First Ladies without actually having a foundation or an NGO attached to them. In my case, I have an NGO as well called the Ajike People Support Center. And through this, I try also to reach a few more people because I see that that platform enables me to be able to reach more people than I do ordinarily on a day-to-day basis as First Lady of the state. So, you know, in Ajike, we say we rise by lifting others. And what we mean by that, we help the less privileged, the indigent, like I said, and all these people. And so far, so good. my focus has been on skills acquisition and training, because when you see young adults who are not employed, who are not doing anything, it's important to get them these vocational training courses. So what I do is, I believe that, in the past, we used to have empowerment programs where you give tools to people to go and work. And because they lack the capacity or the skill set to utilize those tools, they just possibly sell them off after a little while. And then in a few weeks' time, you find that they're back in the poverty circle. So it was important for me to make sure that we train people before we give them these tools to start to operate. So Ajike has been doing a lot, over 4,000 people so far since we started last year. We've done training and in different things. They've done Aare, they've done Ashoke, they've done purses, they've done fragrances, they've done everything, shoes, bags. We've trained people to learn to do so many of these things. And they find that when they go out into the world, they can sell off some of these things and start entrepreneurship. They can also teach the skills to other people in their households, so that it now doesn't become just a mono, just a mono earning from one person. The whole family now gets together and, begin to sell together. And this is fantastic. And we can see the turnaround that is having in the lives of the people. Now, also, what else do we do? After training, then we give them the tools. So we've given tools like, hair dryers, we've given grinding machines, we've given makeup tools after teaching them that. We've given sewing machines after sending people to train in this with a fashion institute. So, Ajike has been very busy doing that, while I've been busy with the state and also doing, so much, appearances and things like that. So I think you can see that it's a lot more to a first lady than just being ceremonial. We do try our best to make that impact felt. Recently, the first ladies of the states founded the Nigerian Governors' Wives Against Gender-Based Violence. And we've used that platform to leverage on, all what is being done now in the gender-based violence sphere. We put it to the governors, and they put up a state of emergency on gender-based violence. We see that it went all the way to the presidency. The president also set up a committee, and things are working well in that sphere. The laws are being passed. Those who haven't passed the Child Rights Act are in the process of doing so. The VAP Acts are also being passed. In Kwara, the Child Rights Act was passed a long time ago, and now the VAP Act has gone through its second reading. And the governor actually made an appearance in our last gender-based violence meeting and informed us, the first ladies, that he was very committed. And after the second reading, we expect that this law will be passed very soon, the VAP Act. A few other states have also been doing this. So you can see the role of the First Lady in this. Most of the First Ladies head the gender-based violence committees in their states. And recently in Kwara, we were very lucky. The governor approved for the SAC Center to be refurbished. That has been done. And we had the very good fortune to get an NGO and Action Aid to refurbish a shelter for us. So you see, that I've been in the forefront of, and it's going really well. And yes, so in this regard, I think, you can really see that it's all not just looks and ceremony. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, and Kwara is in the forefront of that work.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. That was really delightful, to listen to. And I'm sure I just kept grinning and smiling, because this is what we want, It's important to have a proper representation of women at the top of the echelon that are doing amazing work. points of reference to women who are aspiring to run for office, either as elective or appointed officials. Now, Your Excellency, I hear you speak about the amazing work, you're doing in Kwara State, or the First Ladies are doing, the coalition with, the group of the First Ladies are doing as well, and how much you've been able to propose policies that can really tackle some of these cross-cutting issues, and also pushing for the enforcement as well, which is amazing. And this is what we really want to hear. Now, there are two things that, I just kept thinking about. Now, before I actually go to that, you mentioned that, which is actually true, that in this current dispensation, you have a lot of career women, a lot of experienced women who are first ladies, and that has really channeled or changed the dynamics of conversations as well, which is, very well reflected in the kind of policies you're driving. I'm particularly delighted to hear, about the Child's Right Act, because that's something that, a lot of people have been wondering, why 11 states are yet to sign it. And I'm glad that, you're doing some work on it. So thank you very much for that. We definitely be watching that. Now, two questions for me. So we have First Ladies doing amazing work. I can't help but wonder why there's still that low visibility, or why we have while those common perceptions are still thriving, despite the kind of progression that we've seen. In your opinion, what would you say are the major factors that are contributing to the low visibility, the common perception, why they're lingering for so long? Just a minute, I'm gonna mute that. And second of all is, what can society do? And by society, I mean various stakeholders, from the media to the third sector to the private sector. What can society really do to amplify the voices of First Ladies, the work they're doing, to encourage them that, we'll see you, we hear you, we recognize your importance, and we want to work with you to move Nigeria to the next destination?
Thank you for that. Now, what could be contributing to the low visibility of First Ladies, as you said? A lot of the time in various states, all the work that's been done by the First Ladies, like you said, may not be beamed out across various media platforms. It has now been our leaning this time around to try to encourage First Ladies to engage the press a bit more, so that a lot more is known about what they're doing and what they're achieving in the States. It hasn't been so, and sometimes you find that some may not really be so comfortable in front of the camera, but it's getting better, and we try our best. But then there's a lot of work that's going on that they're doing. Also, we call the press the fourth estate of the realm for a reason. It's up to them also to go out, investigative journalism, to make sure you go out and find out what is happening with your First Lady's office, what they're doing, what they're achieving. Don't just leave it up to them to try to reach you all the time. Like I was very impressed with how versatile and how engaging you guys were in getting this platform today, and to make sure that we appeared, on it. And I'm very proud of you. And I think this is the way to go. So once you get various channels, we're on a webinar. In the past, we didn't do webinars. So, it's also important to make sure that we jump above, on top of the new ways of communication and the new ways of media to put up our messages across. I can assure you a lot of work is being done by each First Lady. They work hard, they serve the indigent, and sometimes the cameras don't get there. And that may be why you don't see a lot of it. But we're trying to break that, taboo and make sure that, they're a bit more visible with the support of their husbands. And this is where I also need to talk to the press. It's important to support your First Lady. Do not taunt, do not make fun of, do not, because we all come from different backgrounds. So if you have somebody who is from a different background and suddenly starts to be a humanitarian and trying to do such things, support that person. You know, by the time the press, if they slam something and it's so negative and all that, you will find that it would be very difficult for that same person to engage the press in a subsequent, you know, in a subsequent, you know, outing. So I think it's important to also tell the press to be fair in their coverage, to showcase the good sides of what's happening, and to also present a balanced view, not a one-sided view, you know, a balanced view of what exactly is going on, so that people would not be deterred from engaging the press and engaging them to come, because a lot of people are worried about negative reporting, you know, so you can't blame them. So therefore, you know, if we have a lot more positive reporting, making sure that, you know, concentrate on the content, on what they're trying to achieve, you know, rather than, oh my God, you know, women are still looked at, you know, you pointed it out in your first sentence, you know, they consider them glamorous, expensive. So by the time you go somewhere and somebody judges what you're wearing, there's a tendency the next time not to want to have them around. So, but you have to understand that a lot of people are coming from different backgrounds. Like you said at the beginning, I come from a diplomatic background. I've had to represent Nigeria across continents all over the world. It's important for Nigeria to always put their best foot forward when we're representing our country abroad. So you are taught to dress well, be well presented, to showcase the best of Nigeria. So I think it is good when you see first ladies turn out well. You don't want a shabbily dressed first lady. You don't want them to look dowdy and dull and, you know, not, and people walking and say, so who exactly is the first lady here? So, you know, it's important that that composure and comportment is there. You should expect that from your first lady. You should expect a certain degree of decorum, and you should expect her to be able to put her best foot forward. So support that. I think we should lose the glamour tag and lose all those things that people talk about, and just embrace them for the work that they're doing, and don't focus so much on the looks.
Thank you so much. That was well said, Your Excellency. And I think it's something that, you know, we can't reiterate enough, because women should not be judged, you know, based on how they look, but based on their delivery. It's very important. And I think it's something that, you know, we need to keep sharing and spreading and reinforcing. There's nothing wrong with the woman looking glamorous. I mean, at ElectHER, we'll say something. We'll say lipstick, fashion, and politics. Why not? That's very important in really breaking the stereotypes. Women can look good and can look good as well. And I think it's very important. Thank you so much for reinforcing that. Now, Your Excellency, I'm going to touch on a little bit of sensitive issue, but I'm not going to go deep into politics. And that's because I understand that, you know, the role of the First Lady is not an official political position. So I'm at ElectHER anyway, we are not partisan. Our goal is to drive women's political representation and leadership for a reason, for the socio-economic advancement of the country. And I think we can really model our expectations based on what, for example, the First Ladies are doing together under the joint coalition. You're pushing for policies. These policies have multiply effects. So at ElectHER, this is how we view the participation and the representation of, you know, women in politics, either as the voter or the candidate. So my question to you, you know, based on the later context that I had, is politics has been another very crucial area where women are seeking gender equality, or at least the limiting of discrimination against women in politics and against women. In what ways can the office of the First Lady reduce gender exclusion in politics and decision-making processes? So more of the process, the systems, you know, not really more like particles.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. So, well, I'll use Kwara State first as an example here. The governor, you know, is a governor who had the most females in his cabinet so far.
Yes.
And apart from the cabinet, also all over the government, the head of the civil service is female, the head of service is female, the clerk of the assembly is female, You know, the deputy chief of staff is female. So in Kwara, we have a lot of women in very high position, delivering very well, you know, to the benefit of all. So this has changed the perception of how to view women in the political sphere. And the governor was very good in doing this. And I think, you know, this is why he's received a lot of accolades from women's groups and all these other things. Of course, with my support. And I work very closely with all these women as well, because they've assisted me in achieving a lot of, you know, what I'm doing, as well as the men. Now, when we talk about women representation in government, like I said, Kwara is already, you know, far ahead of that curve, because, you know, the representation is quite huge for women. And I think more and more governors are beginning to see the value of having women in working, you know, with them and around them. And I want to also urge the women that when we are put in these sorts of positions, it's important to put our best foot forward. You know, when a woman is elected, you are subconsciously carrying all other women on, you know, on your shoulder to show what women can do. Because the one thing you do not want is for a man to put so much trust and, you know, expect a big role from a woman, and then, you know, you let the side down. So that's why, you know, I've worked very closely with all the women, you know, who are operational in Kwara in very different ways. And I think that narrative is beginning to go across the country as well. And more women are taking up positions in so many different spaces. Now, when it comes to election and making sure women are represented in elective posts, because don't forget that appointments are different from elective posts.
Absolutely.
Now, appointments are based on, you know, maybe they've looked at your background and seen what you have to offer, and somebody thinks you can deliver on what they want to achieve in that role, and therefore they appoint you into that position. Now, elective office is totally different. Elective office involves campaigning to voters, making sure that you get voted in. Now, I think sometimes this is where there's a challenge for women, because maybe in elective processes, we need to be more present in elective processes and know how to navigate that terrain in order to get elected into office. So the appointment side is working very well, I must say, because a lot of women are now in various appointments across the country and doing fantastically well. The elective positions, on the other hand, may be where we still have a little bit of a challenge, because I don't know if women are, you know, connecting enough with the voters, making sure that they're out there participating and making sure that they get voted in, because that is a different ballgame. That is not up to one person to appoint you. This is up to the electorate to elect you. And this is why, you know, talking about women in elective office, you have to make sure that women's groups and women come together more to make sure that they can see a woman through the polls all the way through to election and delivery. So those are the two differences. And I think, you know, Nigeria is getting there. We're beginning to see more women in elective positions as well. And I think, you know, if we continue along this path, then we will see more and more equal representation. I certainly see a lot of men who support women, you know, to achieve their aims. And I think in Nigeria now, we're beginning to see that trend of more women being confident to try and run for office with adequate support.
Okay, thank you, Excellency. So there's been a pattern, you know, during the course of this conversation, and I'm seeing model here. And, you know, even in the church sector, what we do sometimes is when we see a model working, we want to replicate it. So what I see is Kwara is a model state in terms of women's representation, and that's one thing that's so obvious and very commendable as well. What's your opinion, or how would you go about impact assessment, peer-to-peer learning, and also information dissemination. The reason is because, I mean, this issue there's been lingering for so long. We have less than 5% women's representation. But Kwara as a state has managed to break this stereotype. And where do you see the role of impact assessment? How do you think you can actually drive this conversation to encourage fellow first ladies, to encourage the electorate, to encourage different stakeholders, sort of like a proof of concept testing that, look, this is working. This is what Kwara State has achieved because we have more women in power. This is why we're driving equal representation, you know, and it becomes a part of the systemic process that we're really like aiming for. So how would you rate impact assessment, peer-to-peer learning, and information dissemination?
Thank you. You know, one thing I didn't stress a lot in the last question is the role of the First Lady with, you know, making sure, I talked about women's groups, trying to make sure that women got into elective office, but the First Lady as well has a great role in doing that. I mean, I already mentioned that on my own, I work very closely with a lot of the women appointees who are my husband's appointees, actually. You know, they are in the cabinet and they work for the governor. But I've managed to work very closely with all of them. And therefore, people are saying that it works. You know, these women are achieving well, and they work with the governor, they work with the First Lady as well. And, you know, this is sinking in. And as you said, Kwara has become a model state for this, and being replicated in other states as well. But how do we get women elected into office? The role of the First Lady in this is also quite crucial. I said, if you support and show support for these women, then you can make sure that people know what the women can offer to the government. And also making sure that the electorate is informed, making sure that, you know, you get people to support them on what they're aiming to do, and get the women themselves to be articulate, to quote the press, to make sure that they're out there, because this is where I said we've been a bit lacking in trying to get women into elective office. I think maybe the terrain may be a little bit difficult for them, and they find it difficult to walk that terrain. So we need to make it, you know, a bit more gender friendly for women to be able to seek active office, to know that their voices will be counted, and that they would be able to get the electorate to vote for them, as opposed to just seeing them as a woman running against a man. Oh no, let's choose the man. You know, we need to make sure that we get, and that's why it's also important to make sure that we have the right women for the job. It's one thing to say we want women in elective office. Let's also look for the right women who can fill those shoes comfortably, and who can, you know, walk the talk, and make sure they bring to the table everything that is needed to make them successful.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Okay, so just
peer pressure, I didn't get to peer pressure, actually.
Yes.
Peer review.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
Peer review, I didn't get to that, sorry. Now, peer review is very important. This is why all the coalitions of First Ladies that we're putting together is very important, because we sit together, we meet on various platforms of the Northern Governors' Wives Forum, Southern Governors' Wives Forum, Nigerian Governors' Wives Against Gender-Based Violence, we've got the First Ladies Against Cancer, we've got so many different groups where we all meet from time to time, and we share experiences and talk a lot. So this also has, you know, made, because now you are able to know what's happening in a certain state when it comes to women representation, and, you know, what is happening with women. A lot of the First Ladies work very closely with their ministries of women and social development. And that is also helpful, because you get to meet all the women's groups, all the women's pressure groups, all the women's groups, and all the women who may be running for office in one form or the other. So the role of the First Lady is crucial in all this. And, you know, we try our best to give our support to them, and also try to make sure that various groups know what we see in this particular woman, and how to put her forward for elective office. So that peer review mechanism is very important to also get this agenda across.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. So yes, peer review is internal. So more on the external front, I'm just sort of seeking ways that the Office of the First Lady or the coalition that you have together can, do joint press conferences, publish reports to really show the figures. They say data is oil, and data also helps with informed decision making. With the work that, your coalition have done on the BAP Act, on the Child Rights Act, trying to get other states to domesticate this act, do you see the coalition movement also sort of pushing for the minimum 35% representation? And I asked the question because Kwara has already done, you've done and dusted, right? So I kind of feel like there's something here and there's something to explore. So it's good to, without putting in any tight corner, obviously, or quoting you, is just to say, is there a possibility to replicate the same, the same process, or sort of like the movements that you've actually embarked on to pursue the implementation of the BAP Act and the Child Rights Act, to actually pursue 35% women's representation across elected and appointive offices as well? And the foundation to that could be, this is what's happening in Kwara State. So beyond the peer-to-peer review, now putting it out there and making a case for it, to get everyone to act on it.
Well, yes, apart from the peer review, you're talking about external things. At the end of the day, running for elective office, we can, put forward various women that we think are good enough for elective office, and,
Absolutely.
make sure that they try and run, and also make sure that we support them to the best of our ability, put them forward, make sure that the press knows that, I think I mentioned that earlier, the press knows how good they are in what they're doing and what they're achieving. And, this is getting them well on their way. It's however, very difficult once they get into the political terrain to continue to continue to be the one supporting them, because then they've got to go into the party structure and
Absolutely.
then try and fit in the party structure and get their nominations through the party. So this is something that then they have to do themselves, and get themselves elected on that platform, or to be the nominee, so to speak, for that position, because you have to run against certain other people. So it's not given to you on a platter of gold. You've got to go there and slug it out with the men. And, but this is just where we need to give them adequate support, make sure that they are able to put their hat in the ring, and make sure that they say, okay, I'm ready, I'm willing to do this. And try and crowd fundraise and try and assist them, because there's another problem that women seem to have is finance. So it's important, to the best of our ability, to try and raise funds for anybody that we're supporting, and to make sure that they can, make ends meet when it comes to putting forward all the fees and things they have to pay to be able to join this. And coming together as a coalition always helps in this regard. So I think, my advice to any woman out there who is thinking of elective office is obviously to engage her First Lady, engage the various groups that are necessary. And then when you put your hat in the ring, to try your possible best to, raise all these things that you need through the right channels. And hopefully, you will get through.
Thank you, Excellency. I'm sure you just saw me grinning again. And I think it's just because you reinforced something that, a lot of people don't want to talk about, and that's the role of finance in elections, which is very important because Nigeria has one of the most expensive, elections in the world, and that is what we have right now. So women have to learn to work with it. You've really followed this conversation today because we've been able to really talk about some of those issues that are really key to getting women into office. Now, just to sort of highlight a little bit of work on what ElectHER is doing for everyone listening, the First Lady has mentioned the role of finance and saying, she mentioned something, crowdfunding, right? Which is something that we don't do a lot, but something that's done in American politics. Imagine if, say, 5 million people donate, say, 5,000 naira. Just imagine how much we could get. So I think that's very important as well. So for people, you know, at the other side of this conversation listening today, I think it's very important, you know, to really try our full weight to supporting women. At ElectHER, so what are we doing? We have a 4E strategy, and that is engage, encourage, equip, and enable. And the reason we are actually, you know, embarking on the strategy, we've adopted the strategy, is to tackle the end-to-end issues and ensure that we're not just saying, women, raise your hands to run. We're also trying to tackle the systemic issues from the party level, you know, to issues that have to do with policy amendments and all. And also getting them to say, you know, I'm raising my hands to run. So recently we launched a platform called Decide to Run, which is going to be a network that will support women who are aspiring to run for office. We're going to be launching the community at the end of the month, so we hope to get as many women as possible, because we need women for women right now. We need to really start getting our acts right towards 2023, because this is just about everybody in Nigeria in general. And also for equipping, we're currently working on setting up ElectHER Academy, and a part of that will be women will have free access to virtual trainings, online learning, self-paced learning, in-person learnings post-COVID, and our signature fellowship, which is ElectHER Future Lawmakers Program, which is essentially targeted at women that are seeking lawmaking positions so that they can come correct, set an agenda for yourself, understand policy making, understand, you know, and interact with people in the space, that when you get there, you can actually push for issues, social, economic issues that will lead to the advancement of the nation. And finally, under our engage part, ElectHER is set to set up an election campaign fund from next year. And we want to be able to raise that fund to sponsor the campaign of women. We're very deliberate about this, because look, without finance, we don't have the negotiating power. So for us, you know, I'm saying this out there so that the First Lady can also know some of the work we're doing, because we believe that this is the first of many conversations that we're going to have, because we have a common vision to really drive women's engagement and empowerment as well. Now, Your Excellency, before I go to my final question, I'm going to just give room to 1 or 2 questions, maybe just 1 or 2, because I want us to end at the hour of 5 o'clock. You know how this goes. So if you're just joining, all you need to do is raise your hand and I will unmute you. You can only ask just about 30 seconds. If you're dragging on for so long, unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut you off. Keep it civil, keep it very relevant to the discussion. We care about progressing the conversation. So please, let's be very guided in the way we ask our questions today. I'm going to, I can see somebody, so I'm going to unmute, okay, Spanabel, please, you have the floor. Please unmute yourself, yeah, speak. Hello, are you there?
Hello, good evening.
Yes. Good evening. Good evening.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for this webinar. Good evening, Her Excellency.
Good
okay,
evening.
so a very quick one. I'd like to find out if the First Lady has any empowerment program currently running in Kwara State for the youth, for the girl child. Hello?
Is that your question?
Yes,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your question. Maybe you didn't join us at the beginning of the conversation, where I ran through a lot of the things I've been doing with my NGO called Ajike People Support Center. So I said Ajike is said to, that we rise by lifting others. That's my motto. And then also I said that we had been running skills acquisition programs for people, which, you know, to me, empowerment in the past meant that people were just given tools, and when they went out to, you know, use those tools and couldn't use them, they would sell them off, make a little bit of money, and then very soon go back into poverty. So what I've been doing is I've been doing the skills acquisition programs, and I mentioned here, and it's for youth and everybody. So we've been training people we trained a few people in fashion designing, and at the end of their course, they got certificates and were given sewing machines. We trained some people in makeup, and at the end of it, they were given makeup tools and things like that. We trained people, we gave them grinding machines, hairdressing, and now, you know, the next one that we have coming up is an Ashoke training, and then we also have the events management training coming up. So we've been doing a lot of this skills acquisition, and the youth have been taking it up. In fact, there was an interview recently of one of them who's a university graduate and said she'd been wanting to start her own sort of design school, you know, design institute. She didn't know how to go about it. And the intensive training she got from us, you know, enabled her, and she showcased all the outfits that she'd made recently. And this is a graduate, and she just went on that refresher course, got herself that, and got one of the sewing machines we gave her. And now she's well on her way to making all this. So yes, indeed, I do have ongoing programs to empower people, the youth, the children, you know, and women, and I say, and humanity in general, so that shows everyone that I do not leave out men. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you very much, Ma.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, do we have any other questions before I round up the discussion? Just gonna have a look.
Please don't be shy. Let people raise up their hands. That's what
Please raise up, just ask your questions. Don't ask the questions in your head. Come on, let's do this. This is all about engagement. You don't want to keep mute. Oh, okay, we have people. Let's see what you have. All right, so Your Excellency, I'm going to introduce my partner and co-founder ElectHER, Abosede George Organ. So please take the floor, Abosede.
Thank you so much, Ibijoke. Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's an extreme honor to have you. And I'm really, really excited that we're having this conversation.
Thank you.
I think that my question, thank you, Ma. So I think my question will be for a young woman who is part of this conversation right now and saying, you know what, I will be considered an urban woman, right? And oftentimes the struggle is, how do I go back to, you know, my roots? For example, if I grew up in Lagos State, right? And then I'm supposed to be going back to Ekiti to run. What is the step, you know, and how do you integrate? And I say that because, you know, I mean, I can tell that, you know, you are obviously very well exposed, very well read, and now you are having to deal with a state that has a variety of people. And I definitely think that that will come with some real interesting critical skills. And I think we could benefit from understanding sort of how you transitioned, how you integrated, and obviously how you're doing that job of carrying everyone along and leaving no one behind. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's a fantastic question, actually, because, you know, this is what deters a lot of people from going into politics. They don't know where to begin. They don't know where to start. They feel alienated from the people, and they think to themselves, how do I just get into this? I mean, like you said, my background is in diplomacy, and I've lived all over the world in very different places. And also, you know, like you said, grew up in Lagos, grew up, you know, did part of my education. I lived in the US as a child. So how do you go back and then deal with the electorate? But you know what? You just start small. You go from time to time and you start to engage with people. Now, I have a lot of very young volunteers who, some of them live abroad. Some of them, you know, are in Lagos and in other places, Abuja and whatnot. And I just engage them to come with me. Like during the campaign, even before my husband got into office, we went with a group of people, with a group of friends who'd never been to Kwara before. And we just went to a very, very localized area. There was no electricity. There was nothing there. And we just went there and sat and started talking to the people there. And little by little, you saw people coming out of their houses to come and sit with us and engage with us. I gave out notebooks to children, asked them what schools they were in and everything. And then they told us what was going wrong in that locality, what they were expecting from government, what they wanted government to do. So I think that's how to take it, one step at a time. You have to go from time to time. There was also recently another person I'd met in Atlanta, a young woman, and she'd schooled in Kwara, but now lives abroad. And, you know, she decided she was going to come home for a bit. She did, and went to Kwara and went to I said, just pick an area, go somewhere, go and chat to the people there, see what you can give to them. We have another young lady who schools in Abuja. What she did was a back to school campaign. And this back to school campaign, she decided to give out notebooks, exercise books, school bags, and a few other things to some select schools. Now, like you said, she's disengaged. She didn't know where to begin. So she came to my office to ask us, how could we help her to locate some certain schools? All she knew was that her mother was from Erelu in Kwara State, and she didn't know much about the place. So I sent a group of people there to locate, you know, some schools for her. And we managed to now link her to those schools. And now she does this back to school thing where she sends, you know, notebooks and school bags. And now she's engaged with that community. Now, I don't know if you're aware, the governor has the youngest commissioner in Nigeria. That's the Commissioner for Youth and Sports in Kwara State, Joanna Kolo. And she also recently has now set up a group of women called the AA Women Wing Edu. Now, she did this because she's engaging now with her community and now set up the AA Women's Wing, as you know, is a women's wing for the governor, Abdulrazaq Women's Wing. So she now, who was appointed commissioner at the age of 26 and now just turned 27, is now learning to engage with her community apart from just, you know, discharging her responsibilities as a commissioner. So she's set up this group of women who are now, you know, localized women who are now also engaging with her and making her more in tune with the grassroots. So how did I also do mine? You may want to ask. That was exactly what I did. I walked into certain neighborhoods, I sat with them, I chatted with them. I told them who we were. We went with a group of people, all novices, all not knowing about the local areas. And we started small that way. And week by week, we built up our community of people. So that is what I would suggest to anyone who's looking to reconnect or connect in that sort of way. In fact, in the first instance, you don't even need to be there. You can send emissaries. We're very, very happy that these days we've got webinars and we've got things like that. We also had some professors come from the UK to come and teach STEM subjects. You know, for those who don't know what STEM subjects are, you know, you're talking about maths, you know, engineering, you know, all the technical subjects. So they came from the UK and picked some localized areas and went there, picked certain schools and just started. And they rendered all their lectures. They came from very renowned universities in the UK, like the Imperial College and all these other universities. And they've been doing that. So this is how we've been engaging and making sure that people can, you know, come and engage with the grassroots and make sure that they make that impact. And that is what any woman that that is looking to become herself elective in office should do. You need to go and connect with the people and start that way. I hope that answered your question, Abosede.
Yes, Ma, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So we actually have two people that have been, and luckily it's two guys. We actually love it when on this series, you know, we have men that engage with her. So I'm going to unmute you, Ope. Please, let's keep the questions to 30 seconds. Thank you.
Okay, hi, Joker. Thank you so much, and well done to the ElectHER team. Your Excellency, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask a question from a different perspective. I know we've been talking about women getting into power and all, but I want to ask you from a personal perspective. Were you always prepared to be a first lady, or when did you know that your husband was going to become a governor? And at that point, what did you do? Because the first lady's position is quite one that has a big spotlight on it. So how did you prepare yourself to, to sort of, how would you advise other women that find themselves in that kind of position where they are just, where their husband wakes up one day and says, you know what, I'm going to become a governor? What does a woman do to prepare herself for that kind of position?
Thank you for that question. And it's a very, very relevant question, a very important question. In my case, I don't know if you know much about my background, if you saw my bio. I've been in government, I've been a diplomat for 28 years now. So I've worked in representing Nigeria in various countries around the world, including South Africa, France, the UK, and all that. So I've been part of governance and for a long time. So my husband deciding to run for governor, and this wasn't his first stint at, he'd run before, and he'd also run for Senate before. So it wasn't a new venture to us. So we were quite familiar with the terrain. And then secondly, like I said, I've been in government all 28 years or so now. So I'm quite used to government and governance. And therefore, it was a bit of an easy transition for me. It's not the same for most first ladies, especially those not in the government terrain. But for me, I found it's not really a transition because I remain in government. So I'm part of government, and therefore being a first lady and supporting the governor has not been too much of a challenge for me, bearing in mind my background. Now, for those who do not have the same sort of background that I have, I know some have found it challenging. As we said, some are not so visible because of that, because they find the terrain a bit challenging and don't know how to go about it. And this is why I'm quite pleased that the First Lady of Nigeria organized some courses. She from time to time gets all the First Ladies together and gets resource people to come and do some sort of training and capacity building, things for us. We've done that a couple of times now with her, and that has helped a lot of First Ladies. Also, I think on anyone's part, it's important that you pick up a role, pick up, certain skills that you can get from professionals and try and get them to come and assist you to make sure that you have the full grasp of what your office entails to be able to support your husband properly. I hope that's fine and answers your question.
Thank you. Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Benga, please, you have just 30 seconds because we have to round up within the next 5 minutes, please.
Certainly, I shall be very brief. I just want to say thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity. First Lady, it's a pleasure getting to see you, although you can't see me. I own a global project development and asset management company in the United States. I have just called in to find out how I can support your initiative through the corporate social responsibility division of my company. We're actually active in about 22 countries. I went to Federal Government College Ilorin before I left for the United States. My father retired in Ilorin. Sadly, he died 2 years ago, but I've never forgotten my roots. So thank you, ma'am. But simply, I've called in to just find out how I can support your initiative, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to meet you, and thank you for that offer. That is fantastic and so close to my heart. Now, through ElectHER, I think we can, share all the contacts for Ajike People Support Center. And, you know, through your corporate social responsibility, I would be very happy to engage with you on all what we're doing in the state. And I'm so sorry about the loss of your dad. May his soul rest in peace. And, you know, thank you for not forgetting your roots and for thinking of coming to assist your First Lady there. I'll be very happy to welcome you, and we will share the details with ElectHER, and they can, you know, share with you. I don't know if any of my guys are on here. They can also share it in a private message to you as well. So thank you so much for that offer. We look forward to you coming on board.
Thank you, Excellency. I'm really happy, you know, that this has happened. And this is why we said, you know, this is the power of media. It should connect people. It should also, you know, all help to like share experiences and amplify our voices as well. And we, you know, really look forward to hearing how this is going to all this is going to evolve as well. So thank you, Mr. Agbenga. We'll share a contact on the First Lady's team with you. Now to the final question. I understand we've run a little bit longer by 2 minutes, but we'll run up within the next 3 minutes, Your Excellency. This is from Shirley Bello. She says, how can one honest politician in the midst of corruption, how can one be an honest politician in the midst of corruption? Can you survive in politics without playing the game?
Can you survive in politics without playing the game? Well, first of all, I think that question should go to a politician. You know, I'm not a politician, I'm a First Lady. But I think by and large, this is what this current administration is running on, you know, probity, you know, corruption-free, making sure that everybody's accountable and all that. And the important thing is for everybody to stand true to their conscience. You do not have to follow the crowd. You must make sure that you can stand on your own 2 feet and, you know, just be true to your conscience and what you represent and what you want to represent. Because at the end of the day, you can see, I don't think corruption pays, to be honest, because I don't think you see very good ends to those who are corrupt. So it's important that going forward, Nigeria has able and very, very good representatives to take us to where we're going and to make sure that Nigeria continues to remain the beacon of Africa. You know, we're the largest economy and we need to continue to be so. And now with things like the, you know, diversification of the economy, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area that we've recently joined, and so many other things, I think Nigeria is poised to really go places. And I think the kind of people that we need to propel this forward are very entrepreneurial, very well-known, very well-to-do, very, very, you know, cerebral people who can take our country forward. I don't think corruption has a part to play much anymore in Nigerian politics, to be honest. I think most of the people now are beginning to realize that they have to bring their A game to the table, and they have to make sure that, you know, things run properly. Otherwise, we have all the various platforms, you have social media, you have everything, and they take people to task every minute. So I think we are getting there in Nigeria, and we shall surely move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Now to wrap up the conversation, what would you do differently? What would your office do differently to empower women towards increased women's political representation come 2023? And any other final remarks you might have as well.
Okay, you know, one thing I would like everybody to know is that it takes a while to get these, like, you know, the kind of suggestions I made about trying to reintegrate and reconnecting and getting to grow your base, your popular base. It takes some time. So people should not see 2023 as way off in the future. It is really close by. And it's important that every little step you can take, you start to take it now. So women, I would encourage to start thinking, to start engaging, to start working. If you have that plan, to start working towards it. And then you see, the other thing is to be ready to collaborate with people and to be ready to see the bigger picture and to assist in making sure that those dreams are realized. So women get into politics, get there, get to know you, get to know your constituency, get to know your base. Make sure you reach out to the because a lot of the time people don't even know certain women are running for anything, you know. By the time you get to know them, it's so late. So, you know, try and be out there, engage the public, engage the media. Various platforms should know about your existence and what you're trying to achieve, and crowdfund, because we do know how important it is to be able to, you know, have the wherewithal to be able to run for office. So I think crowdfunding is important. We've gotten to a stage now where the average Nigerian is politically savvy. The average Nigerian is politically savvy and knows what they want from politics. So try your best to engage your constituency and make sure you make that impact. We're looking forward to more female representation. We look forward to more women, you know, in active politics and doing us proud. Now, for any final words, I'd like to encourage the youth. I am a very youth-friendly person. I have a lot of young people on my team. And I believe, you know, we all know that the youth are our future, and we have to get the youth prepared, you know, to engage and to make sure that they get to where they need to go.
Okay.
Are you there? I lost
Yes,
you for a second.
Yes.
So I would like the youth to put their best foot forward as well, not see age as a barrier. I've just told you now of a 26-year-old that was appointed a commissioner in Kwara State. She's now 27 and doing great things. So not see age as a barrier, bring forward your ideas, and let us all move the country forward together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. It's been such a delightful conversation with you.
And make sure you connect with your first ladies. Let them know who you are.
So you heard that, please. That is a very important word of wisdom. Your Excellency, we cannot thank you enough. You've actually set the bar so high for other first ladies. And we really look forward to hopefully engaging the 36 first ladies in Nigeria, because it is important to amplify your voices, to engage you, and to also, you know, just talk about the good work you're doing and to support as best as we can. We've had so many conversations today. We've reinforced and reiterated the strategic importance of the office of the First Lady and the work that you do, and its significance to national development as well. And we've taken all your feedback. We'll be sharing a communique with your team externally to all parties as well. So thank you very much. We want to say a very big thank you to everyone who has taken time to join us from the beginning of this conversation today. For everyone who's asked them very engaging questions, thank you for your support. This is very important to actually supporting the cause and the movement. Now, there's something I will do, Your Excellency, putting you a little bit on the spot, but also I think it's a good one. For ElectHER, I would love to propose working on a joint report with the states. You know, we talked about amplifying and also using case studies. I think these use case studies are very important to push for policies, but also for information dissemination as well, for people to understand why we should get more women into office, and when we actually get more women into office, what happens. So we'll definitely engage with you on this, but we look forward to working on a joint report that will amplify and analyze what you're doing in Kwara State and how Nigeria as a country can model this. Thank you so much. Don't forget to join us on social media, everybody. It's ElectHER_NG. Share the conversation, share the news, share the love. And if you're looking to run for office in 2023 and beyond, do not forget to sign up to the Decide to Run platform. It's been a pleasant evening. Thank you, Your Excellency. We wish you a
You're welcome. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone that joined in. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye and have a good evening. Thank you, ma'am.